Good day, it's Bolton Red. In this episode, you learn how we pronounce the name of our latest Dutch edition. So it's now Lucharel Gertruda. Get used to it, alright? And we look back at a match which was really tough to watch. Richard is wearing his smarty pants while he's looking at numbers.
So the formula seems more runs equals more goals equals more wins, right?
Yeah, sounds like it.
Well,
if you
yeah,
take it at face value, yeah.
I'm afraid it's not that easy.
And this is what I get when I ask Richard about any signs of weaknesses when talking about Atletico Madrid.
No, we can stop here. No, really.
Well, this is the first of 2 episodes this week. On Friday, we'll release another episode when we look ahead to our clash with St. Pauli. So welcome to Bulls and Red. And welcome to Bulls and Red, your football podcast about RB Leipzig in English from Leipzig, with your host Richard and Mario. And each week we just take you by the hand, or we're inviting you to see the RBL world as we see it. So hopefully you like coming along for the ride. Let's go, Mr. Richard. How are you tonight?
Mr. Mario, I'm fine. Everything's okay. Good to see you again.
Still alive.
It has been a few hours since last time. I almost forgotten how you look like. Oh,
I aged. Sometimes I age well, but I aged. It's late, you know. It's actually bedtime.
It's the high
Where's
def.
my hot cocoa?
It's the high def cam.
The high def cam.
If you're switching to 48p, 480, it's like it's not that hard. Seeing all those, scars.
Scars of life. There you go. It's just the experience that I've got. Who knows? Well, Richard, welcome back and very nice having you here. Let's talk about this beautiful match versus the Eisernen as the FC Union Berlin. I gotta tell you, from our last episode, I was hyped. I was so optimistic, but I must tell you, I don't like international breaks. I don't know about you, but it always seems, we're in fine form before the international break. And then the international break happens and we come out of it and we seem to be stopped in our tracks. But to be honest, we never suspected that because it was a fine day on Saturday. The weather conditions were perfect. It wasn't too hot. It wasn't too cold. The sun was shining. Everybody was optimistic. And we could look forward to a 15 minutes of silence from the Union supporters because, of course, they are protesting against the RB Leipzig marketing vehicle construct, being a former construct themselves. But I don't want to go into this right now. Anyway, so the 15-minute silence, that would be a beautiful time to get the go-ahead goal, just like last year when this happened. It was Goal Panda, but this time, this wasn't supposed to happen. Anyways, the stadium was full. It was a record crowd because they extended their capacity. The RB Arena can now hold 47,800 spectators. That's not even half of what it used to be in the Zentralstadion, but it's much more comfortable, as we all know. We got a roof over our heads. And it was actually sold out, but I don't know about you, Richard. I saw empty seats where people dressed up as seats. I don't know. There were some empty seats around.
That's what I wanted to say. I'm sure people were wearing
some were red, some were white.
Yeah.
But even in my beloved Sector D, I could see those 3 letters a little bit, RBL. So I'm not sure what's going on there. Maybe people are just upstairs in the catering area, smoking, chatting, drinking. Maybe that's the best thing. Well, to be honest, don't say that was the best thing you could actually do. And, we came off a wonderful start to the season. Had 2 wins under our belt. We're beating the champions that were beaten away in Leverkusen. So what should go wrong? And on top of that, remember the international breaks when always somebody came back and was injured? Usually it was the Spanish guy, Danny. But this time, everybody came back, and some of them on a high. Xavi, he was great when he played against Germany. Did you see him? Beautiful performance. Šeško was on a high. Didn't he score a hat-trick for Slovenia? Wonderful performances. David Raum was really good with the German team as well, and I think he has established himself to be in the starting 11. So I was really, really confident. I mean, on the other hand, Pete had a tough night versus Germany. Okay, but then he got a rest, like you pointed out last time. And Golpenta missed a penalty. But hey, why should this affect us in that match, right? So everything was set up for a nice Saturday afternoon. And then that happened. The match wasn't as we expected, was it? Because in the first 15 minutes, although there were no Union supporters chanting, they were still in their little section. They were quiet, which was good. And the RB Leipzig supporters, they made some noise, so that was quite fine. But we didn't get a goal. We did not get a goal. We didn't even get close to it. There was no party going on like that. And the first thing a lot of people noticed when RB Leipzig started was that they started with a back five. So very defensive versus a team, Union Berlin, which is known for their offensive skills. Not. It's more the defensive side. And they did place themselves 50 meters behind the middle line. I mean, they didn't even move forward. They stood there in two lanes almost. It's a bit like VfL Bochum last season when we drew 0-0. Pretty much the same structure. It looked really, really similar. And I read somewhere that the reason for working with a five-man defense was to compensate for Willi Orban's absence and take the load off a little bit of the new defender whose name is... And you know how Tim actually pronounced it and us in the stadium? So it's now Lucharel Gertruda. Get used to it, all right? And while we're talking about pronunciation of our new players, listen to this. So, we got Nusa and Vermeeren. Vermeeren means you temporarily have lost something, haven't you? Vermeerd. So there you go.
Or you increased something.
Oh, Vermeeren, you're right.
Yeah.
Ooh, Richard. Wonderful. You're right. So, Gertruda, he started and he had a solid performance in defense. So I'm not really sure if it really needed that back five just to take a little bit loads off him. And the defense wasn't a problem. Klosterman did a very good job as well. In the beginning, Castello had a few dodgy situations, but he did his usual during the match as well. So defensive, I didn't see any problems there, to be honest. And also Pete performed well. What he had to do, he kept his clean sheet, so that was good. But with this back five, the play was really static. There was no fast movement. It was really slow. It was from right to left. No really deep passes. Nothing surprising. And that was really surprising. And it seemed as if everybody was trying to find Xavi, but Xavi was really taken out, to be honest. So I noticed that Campbell was a lot more noticeable during the match as well. He was very active, and in some situations he actually saved the ball, he got the ball, which is great, but he's not known for making a play fast. So there was no real pace. That's what we usually have on the counter. And with a team like Union Berlin, who was parking the bus. They were parking the bus. We didn't have any options, to be honest. We kind of switched off, or we didn't find any good solutions. And as the game went on, after the first half, when you look at the X goals, where RBL had 0.32 and Union had 0.00, so nothing. There were no chances were created. But as the game went on, Union got a little bit more cheeky, and I feel they created a lot more chances. But if we didn't create anything from open play, you could argue, okay, they're set pieces. Gosh, but this season, we saw this versus Bochum. At set pieces, our team is really poor. Very harmless. Nothing is happening. I filmed a couple of situations and I thought, oh my God, this is really, really not good at all. So it didn't even change in the second half because Alexander Zickler, who was at the sidelines, as we all know, because Coach Rose had served his ban for a red card, so he wasn't there. Well, he was in the stand somewhere. So he didn't make any subs until, well, the 66th minute, which is pretty much what Rose does as well. But, you know, Nussa came in, Vermeeren came in, Baumgartner came in 10 minutes before the end, and then Pausen and Chad 2 minutes before the end. And there was virtually no impact from those people from the bench. Nussa a little bit, but, you know, the 19-year-old young guy, he can't save the day every day. So maybe that's too much on his shoulders as well. So unfortunately, on Saturday, it was a really tough piece to watch. And as I mentioned before, Union got more cocky as the game went on, and it felt like they're creating the clearer chances up to a point where Pete had to make a really, really good save to keep his clean sheet, but also to save that little point that we've got in the end. And it felt really dissatisfying in the end, to be honest. It almost felt like we lost the game, and it all accumulated as well. And when, we got a penalty. That was like Bochum. We got a penalty, and there was a little bit of discussion. And of course, the Union goalkeeper made a little bit of a meal of it. Union themselves on social media claimed they were playing mind games. And at the end of the day, Goalpenda didn't score. He took the penalty, but he didn't score. And Union claimed that they won the mind game. But listen to this. We were really exasperated by that time. Gosh, we couldn't believe it. But that penalty was so poor. That was so poor. Hit to the left-hand side. Easy for the goalkeeper to get and push it away. Reflected to the right-hand side, but not towards Openda. So he could do a Florian Wirtz like he did in match day 1. No, just to the side, and that was it. And from there on, we all had the feeling that nothing good would come out of it. So we didn't lose. I guess that's the good part. The match was really not very attractive at all. Union Berlin got a little bit more cocky during the game and actually created the better chances that we thought. I mean, there was one chance where RB Leipzig hit the crossbar, but to be honest, nothing was really forceful where you would have thought, okay, now we definitely need to score. And some people actually said, well, was Xavi also a bit overwhelmed by trying to fill Dani Olmo's boots? And I'm not sure I agree, because RB Leipzig has actually played quite a few times, long stretches without Dani Olmo in the previous season, and Xavi performed brilliantly, and we still managed to collect vital points. So I don't support that view at all. I think Xavi just has to be let loose. He will get back into the rhythm as well, and regain his confidence, and we'll do Xavi things again. But at the moment, it doesn't really come through all the way as we would love to. Also, the guy who went AWOL a little bit was Šeško. Šeško, I didn't really see him. Poor guy, and nobody could really find him. One of the people next to me said this. Where's that long guy, tall guy, Šeško, when you need him? Well, he didn't have a good game at all. There was no danger for Union Berlin for him to actually hit the ball and score. So unfortunately, not so great. Penda wasn't very sharp either. Not as sharp as usual. So this game ended in a 0-0 draw. At the end of the day, I think is a fair result. And there is a lot of work still to be done for the coach, the staff, the team, and I'm sure everybody's aware of it. They're all professionals and highly paid. Plus, they know that there's no rest for the wicked until Christmas, because there is a packed schedule until then. Good for us, because we can put this game away and move on to play Atletico Madrid. We'll talk about that a little bit later. But there's one more thing I would like to highlight. There is somebody who made some sort of correlation between the willingness to run and the possession of the ball. A gentleman called @BollyGuyR. I'm going to put a link in the description note. He put up some stats of match week 4, which showed a couple of teams that he selected with a high percentage of the ball, who had a high percentage of the ball during the match, plus the amount of the distance of kilometers the whole team was running during the match. And similar high percentage of ball possession had teams like Borussia Dortmund, Bayern München, Bayern 04, Leverkusen. They all were successful, victorious this weekend. And some of the teams, one of the teams had 12 kilometers more distance, ran 12 kilometers more cumulatively as a team compared to RB Leipzig. And even Union Berlin ran 7 kilometers more than RB Leipzig at the weekend. So he just jumps to the conclusion that because RB Leipzig is kind of lazy and not running that much, the other teams, although they have the ball a lot during the match, they are not likely to score and to win. So I'm not really sure if you can make this correlation, Richard. Is this something you would agree on?
Interesting point here. So the formula seems more runs equals more goals equals more wins, right?
Yeah, sounds like it.
Well,
if you take it at face value, yeah.
I'm afraid it's not that easy.
Is it a bit more complicated than that?
Yeah, it seems like. So I found, I had this post on my timeline as well, and I found it really interesting, and it triggered me. And so I sat down next to my computer and started doing a little research about what those numbers, what those figures were like last season.
Okay.
And I found out some interesting things. So last season, the team with least of all teams of the Bundesliga in terms of distance covered was Bayern Munich.
No.
So Bayern Munich had the lowest number.
Lazy what's
and
it?
Distance cover, lazy botsies.
Old botsies. Thomas Müller comes to mind. I'm not running. Forget it. Harry Kane just in one position. Give me the ball. Give me the ball. I score.
Look, I'm standing right on the penalty box.
It's my experience from the Premier League, mate.
I'm going to score. So, yeah, Bayern they ran for a total of 3,921.8 kilometers.
Okay.
Leverkusen was number 4 in that stat with 4,020. And you see it's about only 100 kilometers in difference between rank 18 and rank number 4. Or in other words, it's about 2.5%. So we're often talking about it's important to put any time 100% in anything you're doing on the pitch, because it's professional sports, and the slightest withdraw from in terms of willingness of giving them all for the whole 90 minutes could be too much, especially in games where often one goal is the decisive between winning or losing. So, but on the other hand side, it's not that much. Another interesting stat I found was that number 5 in that stat, distance covered last season, was 1. FC Köln.
Cologne.
Cologne.
They're not there anymore.
Yeah, they're not. They got relegated.
How can that be?
How can that be? Because if it was true that more runs equals more goals equals more wins, Köln must have stayed in the league, but it didn't. And it's not only it is not. Yep, they were number 5 in that department. So with only 3 kilometers less, so almost equal to what Leverkusen did, but with a whole another outcome. Okay, maybe that's a fluky stat. So I started to look into another one. And similar findings can be found in the stat of intense runs. I'm not sure if this is the correct translation. So in Germany, we say intensive Läufe. And the number 1 here was Wolfsburg with 26,800 and something runs in the whole season as a team.
Okay.
Champion Leverkusen was ranked number 9, RBL 14 with 23,000, so more about 10% less than Wolfsburg. And Bayern Munich was number 16, so with slightly under 23,000 intense runs. And now looking where is Köln. Here, Köln is number 5 again.
Okay.
So they run a lot and they run a lot fast.
But does it mean they run after the ball because they haven't got it?
Anyway, they put a lot of effort, and that's
commendable.
What I came into my mind when I saw that post. So that, hey, look, Bayern, Leverkusen and Dortmund match week 3 in the Bundesliga ran about 12 kilometers more than RBL did, and this should be or could be the reason, or had at least a huge impact on the outcome. And I tend to disagree with that conclusion. So let's take a last look at the last stat I have figured out here is sprints. Number 1 was Heidenheim, 8,480. Leverkusen was number 6, RBL number 8, under 8,000 sprints, Bayern number 10, and Cologne number 11. So not in the upper Bundesliga tier in that stat, but still not bad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, still not bad. So the question is, what's winning about if it's not runs? So obviously it's not runs. It's not the distance you have to cover. So remember, Bayern was last season.
Yeah.
And it's not the number of intense runs or sprints. It must be something else. So I don't want to go as far to this point. So I say, hey, I encrypted football. No, that's not what I'm talking about.
I'm going to quit this podcast because I encrypted football. I'm going to be rich tomorrow. Thank you.
I'm hired by Sky Germany. So, or Opta. Yeah, Opta. So why Köln got relegated when they were so decent in run, sprints, and distance covered? I looked into the goals scored. Okay, sometimes at
the end of the day, it's about goals, isn't it?
It's about goals.
Yeah, you're right.
And 28 goals in 34 games is just not Bundesliga worthy.
No, it's not. Okay. And we keep forgetting about it. With all these sorts of stats coming out, you can get lost into it. But at the end of the day, the scoreline is the most important one. And if Cologne only scored how many goals during
28?
28. I mean, how many matches do we have? 34 in a season. Wow.
Yeah, it's just unworthy for a Bundesliga participant.
Did we beat them 6-0 in Leipzig? I think we did. That was one of them. Okay, yeah.
So, but we're trying to figure out what's necessary to win games and score goals. And obviously, running around all over the place, it's not.
No, it's not enough.
No, it's not. It's just not the direction we have to look into. We have to look at if we're trying to figure out what's necessary. So it's not running around.
Suspense is building here. Come on, Richard.
Yeah, it's more dramatically important in my mind. My opinion is goals per shot.
Okay.
So put yourself in, or your teammates, maneuver yourself and your teammates into positions on the field from where you can shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's as simple as that. And if you have to sprint or run intensely or just walk like Harry Kane or Thomas Müller most of the time do, it doesn't matter. Put yourself in positions and get the ball from where you can shoot. And obviously that's what the lads of 1. FC Köln last season was not good enough to do, to perform. So because the goals per shot they had was 0.05. 0.05 goals per shot for 1. FC Köln means they need to shoot 20 times to score once.
What?
Yeah. 20 shots for 1 goal. Okay.
Jesus.
To put this into perspective, Bayern is number 1 in that stat with 0.14. So that means about every 7th shot leads to a goal, and RBL is not, or was not far away with 0.13. So about every 8th. 7th to 8th shot.
Not so bad.
Scores.
I mean, that makes sense. That I can picture. So that really contributes to a successful season because you have to score. Okay, you have to not concede many goals either. So that could be another stat. But that makes more sense to me. Would you happen to have the stats for Saturday, or is that too far? That would be interesting. I mean, we had a lot of shots we didn't score any goals, so that was obvious.
I think it's interesting because on Saturday it wasn't that bad. I think we had 14 shots.
Attempts.
14 shots.
14 shots.
If you take if you look at the total number of shots we had last season, it's about 500 and something.
Okay.
I will tell you exactly 534. And if you divide this 34 games, we have about 15.7 something shots per game. So now we have 14.
Okay.
And penalties are not included in that stat.
Okay.
So it's not that bad. Right? Obviously, the shots came from poorer positions than usual. Maybe. It could be. So you attended the game. Maybe this is a fair conclusion if you're looking into the stats, as I do. And but on the other side, we were not that far away from our baseline, from our mediocre shot line per game. So remember, 15.7 last season, Saturday 14. And so don't get me wrong, I appreciate that there are nowadays metrics beyond shots, assists, and ball possession and so on. But it seems that there is still room for improvement or development of metrics that are really suitable to measure values that are directly connected with success.
Mm-hmm.
And obviously, as I told you, running around is not. By the way, one last thing that comes into mind is back to shots. After 3 games last season, we had 48 shots. This season, 35.
Ooh.
But this time, we had 2 home games instead of 1. And to be honest, we had this year the allegedly weaker opponents. Okay, we had Leverkusen and Union as well as we had last season in match week 1 and 3. And in match week 2, we had this home opener versus Stuttgart where we outshot them 5-1 or 5-0 in the second half. So, and
how many times have you mentioned that match? Lovely. Can we come back to it later?
I tried to bring this up every episode. We'll always find
it was so nice. But this time
This time we faced Bochum instead.
Yeah.
So, and now we have in these 3 matches 13 shots less than last season. And to be honest, that's a thing that concerns me more than not maybe putting enough on that pitch, put enough effort to run 12 kilometers more. We have to shoot more, and we have to shoot out of better positions. And, we have to find ways to put ourselves into that we are able to fire on the opponent's goal. And we need to figure out, or Marco Rose needs to figure out what's necessary to do so.
Especially versus teams who parked the bus. But Bochum didn't park the bus. Bochum was pressing quite high, especially in the first half. But Union Berlin, they were so defensive at the start. Only in the second half they opened up a little bit. It'll be interesting to see how this progresses and continues. And I'm sure we'll pick this up during the course of the season as well. But to be honest, enough of this match versus Berlin and the 2 points we didn't get, because I thought we'd get 3 points easily. And I went in with a 3-0. I think you were a bit more cautious with a 2-0. And even on Saturday, I felt this is a typical 3-0 home match. Well, it wasn't. So that's football. Like you always say, football's a funny old game, isn't it?
Yeah.
Ka-ching. So let's move on to our first match in the Champions League.
Introducing our next opponent, their Gegnercheck.
So, Richard, what is going to be served to us on Thursday?
In the all-new UCL, we have to travel to one of the hardest away matches possible. I tend to say with a heavy metal style playing football squad, Atletico Madrid.
Does that mean they're firing from all cylinders?
Yeah.
Boom, 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 boom.
Firing from every possible angle. Yeah, and
Lovely.
they're always 100%. It's not like, okay, let's take a look what the others do. Now, come on. We have the ball. Let's go for it. Go, go, go. Fast, fast, fast. Sprint, sprint, sprint. Intense runs. And, trying to put the ball into the back of net as fast as possible. And it's going to be a heck of a job. I took a look into Atletico a little bit, how they started into their season in the La Liga, and they did it quite well. 3 wins, 2 draws in the first 5 games, so still unbeaten after 5 games. They scored 9 times now, and most recently a 3-0 home victory against Valencia.
Okay.
And Valencia was more without any chance than Union was in the first half. Literally nothing. Nothing from Valencia.
Really looking forward to this.
And on the other hand side, Atletico had a 3-0 win, scored 3 goals, and had 3.1 x goals. So you get a feeling of how this have been. They unleashed their whole offensive power, obviously, versus a poor Valencia. So Valencia has a poor start into the season. 0 wins, 4 losses, and only 1 draw. Obviously, they struggled to get into the season properly. And we should be stronger than them, okay, to be fair. But on the other hand side, it's the Diego Simeone style, the attacking department without any compromises, and the defense too. And you know what, that's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt in the sense of how I say it. Our strikers, our midfielders, they will have to deal with some serious tacklings by these Spanish guys.
Okay.
Let's take a look how they have in their roster, and it's in parts it seems like this is a world selection. A selection of the world's best players. So it's, in some parts at least. So we have Jan Oblak, the famous goalkeeper, one of the best keepers in the in football, in my opinion. Does not concede often any goals. Defense, Cesar Aspicil. Well, I thought I could pronounce it correctly in the first try. Cesar Azpilicueta, 35-year-old veteran, saw anything, knows anything. It's so hard to get
Seen
behind
everything.
him. Maybe it's not the fastest anymore, but he's with that experience.
It's not about
he
runs.
Can compensate that. He can compensate that.
Oh, okay.
Midfield, Rodrigo de Paul, Koke,
Yeah.
Antoine Griezmann. And
Who's that guy? That French guy?
Yeah, it's like an upcoming star, uprising star. Maybe.
Okay. Maybe he's going to be good.
In the upcoming 10 years. yeah. I think he's any good. Yeah. But even better is number 14, Marcos Llorente. Oh, I'm a big fan of him.
Okay.
He can play anything on the right side of the pitch. He can play defender on the right. He can play midfielder. He can play winger. And even a right outside striker position. It's okay for him. He is so fast with the ball, fast without the ball, so intelligent in creating stuff, creating proper attacks, about the right side. If he heads his feet to the ball, he tries to make the game quick and then go for it. Goes sprint alongside the perimeter, and then comes off and away with a crosser. Or like he did, I think twice in the first 5 games, if there's no lane open, to put a decent crosser into the box. Okay, I shoot by myself, and he is a hard shot, and he can score from beyond the penalty box. So we have to be aware of his skills anytime, because he doesn't need much room, much space. And this famous guy, we had here for 2 seasons from Norway, never really arrived here.
Never took off.
Really showed his strengths. Alex Sørloth.
Just remember that
striker.
Goal we talked about last time, during Corona versus Mönchengladbach, the decider.
Yeah, and that was, I think, it's fair without prove myself. It's very likely that this was one of, if not the least, the lonely decisive goal he ever scored for our colors. And
but
then
he did really well last season, didn't he?
Yeah, it was the top scorer.
Yeah,
the top scorer of La Liga with 24 goals. I tip my hat to that.
Beautiful.
Seems like it was an overachiever.
Okay.
So I watched the conclusions, the game highlights, the match of the day from Atletico from the first 5 games, and of course, I tried to cover every player, but I kept my eye on Sørloth, even in scenes where he wasn't involved. And yeah, it's not like he's like the box striker. You have to bring the ball to him, and then if he's in a nice position, he has a good his heading game is okay.
Yeah.
Really, it is. So you don't score 24 times by accident.
You don't.
It's not like it's not all luck. It would be not fair to say that. But on the other hand side, it's not the one that creates something. It's not the responsible for the creative part of their offense. And there's one more guy I haven't even mentioned yet. It's sometimes I have a nightmare when I think of this name. But he's still there, and we have to deal with it. It's Mr. Alvarez.
Oh, yeah. He's really, I really like him as a player, and I like him more than this guy from Real Madrid, number 7, because he's a very good player, but he's kind of modest. And the impressive thing is how he dealt with the fact that he always came off the bench at City, just behind that Norwegian blonde guy. And I think the last time we've seen him here at Leipzig, he scored a decisive goal for the loud neighbors of City.
Noisy neighbors, and not so noisy neighbors.
They were noisy. Yeah, too much beer probably, or it wasn't anything special to beat RB Leipzig anyway. Quite used to it,
of course.
So he's there again. Oh no!
It was a nice goal. It was a really nice goal. He scored, and yes, now he is with Atletico and doing Alvarez things. So,
but tell me, has he made it into the starting 11 as a regular appearance, or is he coming off the bench as well? And if so, if he does, why is he not in the starting 11? What do you think?
Diego Simeone has got such a star player packed roster. It's not necessary to show Julian Alvarez always to the opponents from the very beginning of the game.
Okay.
So yeah, he started 3 times in the first 5 games. 2 times came from the bench.
Decent.
So I think it depends on what he figured out is the best suitable starting 11 in terms of how to crack their opponent's defense. And obviously sometimes another player suits better. But it seems like he is share his duties with Antoine Griezmann for most of the time.
Oh, okay, then that makes sense. But on the other hand, I might like Alvarez better. I think he's the world champion. Come on.
Yeah.
Griezmann is the former world champion. Oh God, this has got to be great. So, did you spot any weakness? Anything that gives us a little bit of hope?
No, we can stop here. No, really. No, excuse me. I tried to, but no, there is no really weakness. So because they are so, I don't like how Diego Simeone's behavior. But obviously he's a great coach and knows what to do. And remember last season when they faced the Dortmund in the quarterfinals? They handed in the ball over. They had the lowest ball possession percentage of their whole season at home.
Okay.
Only 37%. And obviously that was the plan. So Dortmund, here's the ball, and we're watching what you're going to do with it. And at the end of the day, at the end of the match, they won 2-1.
Yeah.
And had the better chances.
But do you think that's going to be a similar plan for Thursday? I don't
know.
Think so.
And anything is possible. I don't expect it.
No, because
but I wouldn't be surprised either.
Really? And we know what to do with the ball, don't we? Like we've seen on Saturday.
Yeah, I know what we're not doing. Running around.
No, we're not running around. Okay.
But it's gonna be very hard to score.
This kind of contradicts what you said in the beginning. You called it heavy metal football, firing from all cylinders.
Usually they do.
Yeah.
Usually they do. And that game, I remember I watched it and I was like, hey, what's going on here? And then, in the preparation of this episode, I watched into the stats from that game in particular. And then I saw only 37% ball possession. And I thought, it was like that.
It's really interesting.
It was not that usually playing style.
Because when I was working home on Saturday and in a group of people, and one of them actually said, well, Atletico Madrid might be playing the same style as Union Berlin, very defensive. And he claimed that they'll be doing this all the time. But I'm not really sure if that is really true. But on the other hand, they seem to be changing styles, and you never know, which team will appear. But it seems to me they have all the quality. Then whatever they do, they can beat you left, right, and center. Great.
And, one last thing I would like to mention is none of the first 5 opponents this season in La Liga was able to put at least 1x goals on the board.
Woo.
1x goal, not one. Villarreal was the best in match week 1 with 0.8. And I think, as I mentioned earlier, and then since then, it decreased from game to game.
Okay.
0.7 Girona, 0.6 Espanyol, 0.3 and then Athletic Bilbao 0.3 and 0.1 from Valencia. Thank you.
Well, it can only go upwards again when we come in.
True. Oh yeah, true.
It's also
that's I like that approach.
I
thank
don't
you.
know.
Wonderful.
Would you have an idea who Marco Rose is going to send on the pitch this time?
Liebe Fußballfans, wir kommen jetzt zu unserer heutigen Mannschaftsaufstellung.
I wouldn't be surprised either if Marco would, for 3 times in a row, put again a 3-4-3 or a 3-5-2 position on the pitch. So not the usual 4-2-2-2 formation we are used to. And I expect that Orban will do his comeback and replace either Klostermann or Lukeba in the central back position. And what I would like to see is Gertruida on the right lane instead of Benny Hendricks. Instead of Benny Hendricks. I think Benny Hendricks is also okay on the right side, and if you're gonna up with 3 center backs.
Yeah, okay.
So Gulaschi in goal. Then Raum, I expect Lukeba, Orban, Hendricks, Gertruida as our 5 backs, or 3 real backs and 2 wingers, defensive wingers. And the other 5 that are left are the same. So Campbell and Haidara, good to see him back. Appreciate that. And then, of course, Xavi, Šeško, and Openda.
Still doesn't sound so bad, does it?
No, it is not.
Even against a star-strutted team that you just talked about, but they have to play the game.
The only thing they got to do is start sprinting and start running more, and goals will come.
Maybe some shots will help as well. You never know. Some goals would be great. Okay, thank you. Now, what do you...
Should we do a score prediction?
Yeah.
We're going to fight hard, but we're going to lose 3-1.
Yeah, similar over here. 2-0. I don't think we're going to score. I hope we're not conceding more than 2, and I hope we can keep it open for quite a long time. And aggravating a little bit off and on, but I think their quality will probably prevail. Okay, well, we will find out this Thursday, and you will also hear from us on Friday. Hopefully we can push it out Friday, because we're going to do an update there, and in that episode we're going to probably be reeling from that match in Madrid, or be celebrating, you never know. And we look ahead at Sunday's clash at Hamburg, when we meet St. Pauli, and we meet them for the first time before we at some point play them in the DFB Pokal. So thank you very much, Richard. Thanks for this episode tonight, and everyone else, thank you for listening. We really appreciate that. Now, if you do like this podcast, please consider subscribing to it on your favorite platform. You can also leave us a note or a comment on these platforms as well. And you can also send us an email. The email address is podcast@bullsandred.com. You can find us on Twitter. The username is podcast_RBL. We're on Instagram. We're Bulls Red. Our episodes are also available on YouTube. Nothing much to see, but you can listen to it. It's wonderful. And, well, all that leaves us to say right now is thank you very much for listening. Vielen Dank, Richard. And auf geht's, Leipziger Jungs. Bye.